Welcome to the Sports Betting Preview Podcast from pregame.com for a week of December 23rd, 2009. I'm your host, Marco D'Angelo, 30 years in the business, joined with Vegas runner, professional Las Vegas bettor, the only Las Vegas bettor featured on the CNBC special on sports betting.
Thank you.
This is segment 3 of 6, big game preview. We're going to look at Baltimore at Pittsburgh.
What a game.
What's the numbers?
Ready for the number? This one opened up. Pittsburgh is a 2-point home favorite with a total of 39. As of today, it's either 2.5 or 3 plus 110. So if you want to get 3 with Baltimore, you're going to have to play 130. I've seen 125s out there as well. So if you're going to take Pittsburgh, you could take the plus money and lay the 3 or only 2.5. The total's gone up to 42 from 39. So that's a significant move, especially when you factor in that in their first meeting, they only scored 37 points. Although it did go over the total of 35 for the game. It was that Sunday night affair. Dennis Dixon at the controls, first time starting an NFL game, and there was 37 combined points scored.
There's so many different twists and turns in this game. I'm Mr. Pittsburgh, and I hit last week. I used the play on the Pittsburgh game. We're now 48-22 on Pittsburgh games, going with and against, over and unders. I had the over in the game last week, and I really didn't decide till late in the week what I was doing with that game. I had to wait out the weather for one, which again, as we said in a previous podcast, this time of the year, you got to be sure to check weather conditions.
Oh, sure. Especially, just look, it's the headline on CNN. That's how big the storms are right now.
But I can tell you, looking at this game, RJ says, what's the one thing that jumps out at you when you look at this game? And the first thing that jumped out to me is the fact that Pittsburgh won last week. They won, on the last play of the game, miraculous play by Ben. The defense has still got problems, and that's why I had the over last week. But the average bettor, this is what concerns me, is he going to look at this game and say, because Pittsburgh got the win last week, and they're going to go back to that first game when Ben didn't play.
Yeah, with Dixon.
That they almost beat
They should have
Baltimore.
won the game.
That would have been 4 straight against Baltimore, because if you remember last year, they swept Baltimore all 3 games.
In the playoffs, they knocked them out of the playoffs.
They played
in
the AFC Championship
Exactly.
game. These two teams hate one another. I don't know if there's 2 teams in the NFL that dislike each other more than Pittsburgh and Baltimore. And Baltimore, I can tell you, would love nothing better
than to end their season.
To come into Pittsburgh, into Heinz Field, and slit their throats and end the season officially.
Right there,
because the next loss officially ends it for Pittsburgh.
That's what worries me too, Marco. I need to find what's the public perception. So far, I'll tell you, the books are getting both ways on this game. I know 90% of the action comes in the day before and the day of the games. But, anyone you talk to, one guy's going to like Pittsburgh, the other guy likes Baltimore. So I think the books are going to be fine, and this is the game they're going to do well. I even think the total's going to end up, both ways now that it's up to 42.
Here's another question I had when I looked at this game. If you put right now, today, on a neutral field, Baltimore and Green Bay, who's the favorite?
The odds maker, according to the odds makers poll, I think they would have Green Bay a little ahead of Baltimore.
Okay, this is my point. That's what I would say is Green Bay would be favored over Baltimore.
Correct.
Then if you dig deeper, you look, the Green Bay and Baltimore played, albeit it was at Green Bay.
Right.
Green Bay beat them. If you look at this game, last week Pittsburgh ended up -2 to Green Bay.
Correct.
Now they opened this one the same, and now it's up to 3. So
did they really beat Green Bay? Is also, you got to add that to the equation. Did they really beat Green Bay? Sure, on the final score they did, but everybody saw that. They keep showing it over and over, so it's in people's head how Pittsburgh really barely escaped with a victory.
They did, but in my opinion, they're making you pay a premium here with the Pittsburgh, side.
Always. The future line on this game was, and both, Baltimore was supposed to be a little worse than they were last year. Pittsburgh was supposed to be, they won the Super Bowl, so you can't be better. Yeah. You could only be worse, but the same. I'll settle for the same. So far, obviously, Baltimore's done what they're expected to be, 8-6, pretty much what, no surprise there. Pittsburgh's the huge surprise, and they opened it 3 points less. So to be honest with you, I think the line is pretty right here. I like Pittsburgh. I'll tell you the truth. I like the Pittsburgh side in this game. According to the odds makers' ratings on a neutral field, he says Baltimore is 2 points better than Pittsburgh. So add in home field, and Pittsburgh's got a strong home field. They got a strong history against Baltimore. You would make them what? 2? What they opened, though.
Well, see, here's what I'm doing. If you make the comparison to the Green Bay game, the line is right. If we both agree Green Bay would be a small favorite over Baltimore, then this line's correct today. But if you go to the first meeting and Baltimore was 7.5. Now, granted, it was without Dixon. It was without Ben. Dixon started. If you do the 3-point switch just on that, it still leaves Baltimore a 1 or 1.5 point favorite in Pittsburgh, which that wouldn't happen.
Right.
Then you factor in Ben. How many points was Ben worth? And they only have this at 3. So they're saying that Ben's worth 4 points, 5 points, which is what they ended up doing in that first game, because there never was a line on that first game. Pittsburgh.
They wouldn't put it out, remember?
Because it was a Sunday night
and it was anywhere from 7.5 to 9s even were out there, I remember that night.
My concern is that anytime you have Pittsburgh at 3 or under 3, you're basically at home. You're basically asking pick the winner, and the fact that they almost beat Baltimore without
a quarterback that never played before.
That's
the only thing that scares me a little bit too, and that's why I'm saying the public perception. But I mean, there's so much strong support for Pittsburgh. Just the series alone. I mean, the home team has dominated. Man, they've won 8 of the last 10. Right. I mean, that's when they play that as many times as these two play. That's a trend that has merit.
It does.
2 of the last 4 went to overtime. Yeah. So, I mean, these two teams are going to give you a close game.
It'll be entertaining.
And that's why I'm saying I could see people grabbing the points with Baltimore, and I could see others saying, Pittsburgh at home, in more or less, like you said, win the game, I get paid situation. So I'm telling you, there's going to be two-way action in this game.
The other concern is that the Steeler defense, and this will be the last thing, then we'll wrap this one up, that the Steeler defense is so bad right now. I mean, they miss Troy so much.
And I'm telling you, the rumors, I'm hearing it, people saying he's going to play this week. I'm telling you right now, you heard it, he's not playing. Mm-hmm. I am telling you for sure, for definite, everyone I've talked to that's pretty sharp and knows their injury reports says, don't even factor him in there in your work. He's not going to play. I hope that's the case.
This is how bad the Steeler defense is playing right now. Mike Tomlin, with the lead, he had a 2-point lead and like 4 minutes to go in the game, just scored the go-ahead field goal, elected to do an onside kick to try to get the ball back. I mean, he got crucified, and they would have gotten it. I mean, it was well executed, except the guy grabbed it at the 9.5 yard
instead of the 10.
Instead of letting it go 10 yards. But definitely some problems there with the defense. I officially have no play on this game. You got to lean to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I definitely have a lean to Pittsburgh.
So that's going to be the Pittsburgh-Baltimore. And next up, we're going to be looking at a big game. It's going to be my free pick. We'll be looking at Denver-Philadelphia. And remember, you can check out all of our videos at pregame.tv. Or if you want to download and listen, go to iTunes and search for pregame.com.